Hey crew, it's about 6:30 in the morning on the 9th of December, and we're about to take a 5-night, 6-day trip to the Oregon coast. We're going to be moving every night to stay at a different campground, and I'm going to try to do a bunch of walks from the Walks in the Northwest book. So, Oregon coast. Yeah, 32 through 39. So I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 walks. I've actually been working on cleaning up the van so it would be ready to go. I added a new dash cam / backup camera, which seems to work pretty well. It's right there. But unfortunately, we have a LP leak in our propane system. So I think we're going to try to head into Portland this morning, and on the drive in, Sarah's going to start calling RV repair places and see if somebody can take a quick look and see if they can fix this leak. Yeah, and then we're going to Umpqua Lighthouse tonight, where we're going to spend the night and probably do a hike this afternoon right on the beach. So this was walk number 34. It's called Wax Myrtle Beach, or Wax Myrtle Campground and Trail. So we actually did get the LP repaired, and then we went on out to the coast, and you can see there's cars with people getting out there at the trailhead. That was a cross-country team. It was actually fun seeing the cross-country team, just because it reminded me of our high school team. The coaches were joking around, and the kids were luckily not running the walk that we were doing. As a matter of fact, we didn't see anybody on our walk until the very end. On our way back, we ran into a woman who was, I think she said she was the wildlife ranger for the park. We got there at the right time of day. It was just a beautiful, beautiful evening, and we ended up out on the beach by ourselves watching the sunset. The temperature was nice, and it was just gorgeous. It ended up being absolutely beautiful. That's pretty. The waves this whole week were actually quite large. I think there was a high surf warning. So it was fun to see the waves. You'll see lots of video of waves in this. You can hear that the wind has picked up a little bit. And I noticed that it was blowing from north to south, and these little hunks of foam were getting pushed along the beach, a little skating along. And it was really fun to actually watch them. I imagine if our kids had been little and had been there, they would have had an enormous amount of fun chasing the foam along the beach. So after the sunset, we walked back down the trail. It was kind of an out and back, although we took a little slightly different route. Well, we made it back. That was a nice little walk, I gotta say. And then, as I said earlier, we spent the night at the campground and then drove down to Umpqua Dunes. So this is our second walk in the series. I think this is number 34. This was actually number 36. And this is, once again, we're going to walk through the dunes today. Hopefully back to the beach. We'll see. It's a long walk. A couple miles, I think. Yeah, 2.5 miles. So it was actually surprisingly sunny when we left, and relatively clear. Pretty cool, huh? And like idiots, we didn't bring our rain gear. even though the forecast was for it to be socked in and rainy the entire time we were on the coast. So we walked up, and we had to climb these hills, and I think this is a theme on this particular trip is we walked in a lot of sand, and climbing dunes in loose sand is just a tremendous amount of work. So obviously we were having a really good time here heading out, and you'll see there's like a big island of trees off to the right at the end of this shot, and we were heading for that and then going to go past it all the way to the beach. But just about the time we arrived at that island, so we went all the way up into the left of this shot, right up to the island. Yeah, the rain kicked in. So we were really actually having a really good time, and everybody had a good attitude despite the rain. So it's really raining now. We didn't bring our raincoats. I was initially blocking the rain off you, but then I thought, oh, wouldn't this be cool to get a video of? Who cares if he gets wet?
I'm already wet.
Yeah, you're fine. It's fun.
It's fine, Dad.
Nothing better than getting back from a soaking, cold, rainy walk to have a nice, warm van to get into. So we jumped in the car and kept heading south, and the plan was to go all the way down south and get the furthest south walk in this evening. And as you see, the sun came out. We stopped for lunch. This is a place called Humbug Mountain. We stopped and took a shot, and then we ended up down at Indian Sands Trail once again at dusk. And so this is number 39 in the Walks in the Northwest. And it was a really cool trail. It dropped down, followed the coastal path, and then there was all this sand and
Going this way.
Views of the coast. And then also, like, there's some punch bowl type things. And this was not the trail that was described in the book. I imagine that the whole backside of the trail is new since the book was written in the 1990s. But it was a lot of fun. We really, really enjoyed this trail, especially, just before sunset. And once again, we're the only people out walking around here. And then the trail came around the back through the vegetation. And there were these little vegetation caves that we had to go through to get back up to the top. Here's one of those little vegetation caves. Canopies, I guess.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, some of them looked a little spooky. They weren't bad once you got in them, though. Once we finished this trail, we actually went down the road just a short distance to an overlook and took pictures of the sunset there before we headed a little bit further south to the place where we were camping that evening. It was actually Harris Park State Campground. And we talked about it that night and decided that the next day, instead of heading north again, we were going to go down and check out a couple sites of the Redwoods in California, thus breaking the rules and not quarantining after travel across state lines. But in fairness, we didn't interact with any humans down at Jedediah Smith Redwoods State Park. We did 2 short walks. Most of the video footage is from the first one. I took a lot of pictures here, but I didn't take as much video, but I think there's still plenty. You know, the size of the trees is just amazing. You'll see, you know, lots of shots here with Taryn and Sarah to give you a little scale. And at the second trail, I was surprised. You know, I know I said earlier we didn't interact with a lot of people, but there were a good number of people there, and it felt sort of weirdly urban.
Okay.
There was like a family playing laser tag. Oops, I'm taking a video. There was a guy doing a photo shoot with his kids who were probably both under the age of 10. It was strange. It felt like a city park in a way.
Who's the man?
So then we headed back north because we had a 3-hour drive to get back up to where we were going for our last hike of the day, which was the South Slough Trail. Here we are, not following the trail that we're not even on the trail that we came to walk. And this is number 38 in the book. And this was kind of like something out of Mist with the swampy wetlands, and there were once again these kind of little vegetation caves. And we were there once again at dusk, but this is a estuary conservancy or something, and so they had a gate, and we were afraid they were going to close the gate and lock us in. So we were in a bit of a hurry. And boardwalks as well. And we headed out from here this evening to a little campground that was right near the trailhead of the hike that I did the following morning, which was number 37, called Shore Acres Trail. So I actually walked right from our campsite out to here. This is me walking up the road to get to the trailhead. And I looped around. This isn't the exact trail that they had laid out. This is the only one I walked by myself. Basically followed around the edge of this bluff, looking into all these little tiny bays and these rugged areas. And you can see there's a lighthouse in the background there. I think we'll get another picture of that in a bit. And once again, you know, we were scheduled for rain, and it rained really hard most of the night. And I got out and walked, and it was nice and misty, and then towards the end of the walk, the sun started coming out. Yeah, there's the lighthouse. You can see a little bit of sun on it.
So how cool is this?
This is a little chute. I could have climbed down through there and gotten all the way down to the water at the bottom, and it's super steep cliff. But I didn't feel like doing it on this morning. And so you get down to the edge of this bay that I'm looking out over here from that little hole in the roots, weirdly. This was a beautiful spot kind of at the apex of the hike. looking back into the bay here. And you can see as the sun came out, the mists started coming up. So I finished this walk, and then we kept heading north, and we went up to hike number 35, Umpqua Dunes. One of the themes of all of these hikes is that I don't think I did any of them the way that they were set up to be done in the book. And this one in particular was a little confusing. Yet another video of Taryn and Sarah walking down a trail. You know, wait, this may not be the right walk either. It was the right walk. It's impossible to capture how steep this trail is. But let me just say that right now, I'm looking straight ahead, not down. That is looking up at a pretty good angle. And this is looking back down at them coming up. This is a steep trail. That's looking level out. Yeah, you can't tell. We did make it to the top though. That was a hell of a climb. But it turns out that we weren't on the trail. The book said the trail left from campsite number 30, but clearly something has changed in the last 25 years. Yeah, you're tracking. So we ended up bushwhacking. We actually ran into a local on the way up that hill, and he told us we needed to bushwhack around the trees. Well, the pole was over there to get back to the trail. Yeah, there's a pole right there. That's the trail coming out of the trees. Yeah, it went through the trees.
Huh. So where's the pole? This is right. That's loose as well.
This is disgusting.
Did someone drop them?
I don't think so. These are rotting mushrooms on the trail.
Whoa. No, those are
We keep thinking we're going to get to the beach, which we've seen off to the right several times now. And the trail keeps running parallel to the beach to the south. Hey, there is a beach. Sneaker waves. So we were here in the early afternoon, or mid-afternoon, I guess, and it was once again lovely. There were other people around. We saw 2 or 3 other couples out walking, putting on their masks when they saw us coming. But we had a nice time. Anyway, I took some pictures of Taryn and Sarah out on the beach in the light, which was pretty good. And on the way back, as I said, Sarah and Taryn were struggling a little bit. It was hard walking in that sand. This was about 5 miles round trip, and so we took the actual trail back. So we came back on the trail that we started walking on, that I said was the wrong trail, and then we went back to Umpqua Lighthouse Campground, which we stayed at the first night. And we got there early enough that Sarah and I were able to go for a little hike and catch the sunset over by the lighthouse. So our plan today was to drive to Cape Lookout State Park and do the hike here. But unfortunately, we got to the trailhead and it was closed. So apparently we can't do the Cape Lookout Trail hike, which is number 33 on our list of hikes. So we are now at our campsite at 12:30 in the afternoon, in a massive downpour, and eating lunch. And then we're going to figure out what we're going to do. We're walking along. The rain stopped, and so we're going to walk around and see if we can find another trail that kind of heads up the direction where we believe the first trail would have gone had it been open. Turns out Sarah did some research online, and there was weather damage on the trail, so that's why it's closed. So obviously we couldn't make that. So we headed on north for an hour. Woke Roo at 7:30 in the morning, and we're going on the last hike of this trip, which is supposedly down to the beach from here. So yesterday, our plan was to camp about an hour south of here. We actually had a reservation at that campsite, and then to do a hike there. And as you will have already seen, that trail ended up being closed because of storm damage over Labor Day weekend. So we decided, we got there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we didn't particularly like the campsite, and it was kind of dreary, and we're having issues with my laptop having enough power, so we talked about me upgrading to an electric campsite, which would have cost us more money. And then we were looking, and we were like, well, why don't we just drive the hour up to this next hike and do that one? So we decided we would do that and basically give up our $28 we spent for the campsite down there and camp at a state park up here and do this hike that afternoon. But as we approached Manzanita, there was a sign on the side of the road and a bunch of guys flashing signs saying road closed due to accident. And we looked on Google Maps, and the road was closed for the entire section on both sides of the trailhead of this hike. So we ended up just going to our campsite, our new campsite, and doing a little evening walk on the beach there. And woke up this morning, and we're gonna do this walk. We're doing this walk, and then we're gonna drive home. So obviously I mixed in footage there between the walk that we did the evening before at our campsite and this particular walk, which was number 32 on the Northwest Walks. It's called Short Sands Trail, or this is Short Sand Beach, I guess. It was a pretty little walk. There was nobody else there this early in the morning. We did the walk, went back to the van, and just drove home. We actually headed into Portland and then went north of the Columbia in order to drive a less busy route. Ended up crossing back over in Hood River on a bridge that I'd never crossed before, which you'll see some footage here in a minute. And we got home mid-afternoon. Nice leisurely trip back. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. More walks later.